Napheesa Collier is back. Is the WNBA MVP award still hers to lose? We'll get into that and much, much more. Locked On Women's Basketball Lynx Report starts right now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and happy Monday, everyone. Welcome in to this Lynx Report episode of Locked On Women's Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen of the day. Special shout out to our everydayers who never miss an episode. Locked On Women's Basketball, here for you 6 days a week, especially today, Minnesota Monday. My name's Terry Horstman. I've been the Minnesota Lynx beat writer at The Next since 2023. Very happy to be here with you today and every Monday through the rest of the WNBA season. Your Sunday scaries, a thing of the past because you have Minnesota Mondays to look forward to now. Very honored to be joined by the host of the bookend of the work week, Fever Fridays. My colleague Tony East is here to get into all things Fever and Lynx, who just finished something of a home and home. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th, which is tomorrow, is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday, the best holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. Happy Futures Day to you all, or Futures Day Eve, I should say. Tony, we got a couple of really exciting Lynx Fever games this past weekend. They'll meet one more time. So you and I have been messaging a lot. The A topic, though, for this last one, of course, is the return of Napheesa Collier. She came back after 3 weeks on the shelf last night in a 97-84 victory for the Lynx in Minneapolis. And she did a lot of feel-like things in it. 32 points in 31 minutes. The debate that's raged since she got hurt has been, is she still the MVP frontrunner? Is it M-V-Phee with the lock? Or have things gotten a little more interesting? What say you, Tony?
So her peak games played would be 33, correct? If she plays every single one.
34.
34. It's going to be so close because I had said per minute played, best player, most valuable player in the league. That is literally what the award is called. Comes in after missing 7 straight against the Fever, buries a corner 3 right away, come out of halftime. Yep, let's get Fee the ball at the elbow, turn around jumper over a good defender. Great, butter. All right, 2 points per shot in a full game win. Like, are you sure she missed a couple weeks? Am I certain she was actually out? My goodness. Right? She has been the best player this year. Voters will have to decide if her per minute production with 10 or maybe I don't know what you think, but if they clinch the 1 seed, is she going to play every game the rest of the way? Is she going to play half of some games? So we'll see what happens with that versus someone. And the only other person I think who's played enough to actually shake that tree is Asia. Everybody else who's been awesome has been hurt versus Asia at 40 plus games, whatever she ends up at. What is actually going to be the difference? I think Fee per minute has been good enough that even minus 10, 11 games, she should win. But I do understand people who value the totality, especially if the Aces get to the 2 seed after the start they had, making that a discussion. I think it's going to be down to those two at the end. Alyssa Thomas, of course, will be heard from because of the triple doubles, the playing every game, also herself. Her minutes are crazy, the Mercury when she's on the floor there. But it's like the story of her whole career where somehow she's always so good and is always right in third. And every coach I've asked privately, like, who do you think the MVP should be? They're always like, oh, AT, definitely. And then it's never AT. So maybe we should be talking more about her in this moment. Sure. But if you made me pick, I would say Fee 1, probably Asia 2, AT 3, but I would understand flipping those. And I do understand voters having to decide, is volume of playing time greater than, less time, but more impact in those minutes?
Yeah, it will be. It is a lot more interesting than it was 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And maybe it would be hard to kind of think things were going wrong in any way during that 53-point beatdown between the Lynx and the Aces on August 2nd when Fee gets hurt. And apparently that game woke the Aces all the way up. They have not lost since. But I do think like Cheryl was asked about this after one of the more recent games that Phee didn't play in. And it's, MVPs come from best teams, best players, best teams. And that is Napheesa Collier. And I do think that is a very eloquent and succinct way of looking at it. I think if you sort of just don't look at the numbers and you're like, who's the best, who has been the best the entire regular season, the Lynx have been like kind of in a tier by themselves since both of them and the Liberty lost a game after starting 9-0. And the Liberty have basically been a 500 team since then, and the Lynx have been like a 750 team or something. So I think, yeah, it's you're just kind of old school simplicity eye test. Like, yeah, like you said, did Phee really just miss 3 weeks? After the kind of funny, she had a turnover on her first touch and was like, I really had to shake the rust off there.
Well, that was like a going for a shot turnover. Like, it's not, that's fine. Those are fine. You might know this off the top of your head. I looked into this a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I still think Phee's on court net rating is higher than the other MVP candidates. Is that correct still right now?
Yes.
Because that is also a good way to show, like, again, the minutes part of this could shake the tree, but when she is on the floor, the Lynx are the best, right? Like, I'm good with that being your deciding factor of MVP, and she's at the top of that. I haven't checked that recently, but I know that somewhat recently was the case. It's like plus 18 per 100 possessions or something insane. Also, they're just unbelievable.
Right. And we were talking about this a little bit before re-recording, but the argument that I can't stand is that the Lynx are good without Phee, as if it's Phee's fault that she has experienced teammates who are also good basketball players and know what to do, and that arguably the greatest coach in any sport.
That argument implies that, like, if it was Phee and then the other 11 players are like you, me, your neighbor, my mom, like, that'd be better for her somehow. Right. It's like, no, that's stupid. That's obviously dumb, right? So yeah, I hate that.
The other one too, like A'ja was always playing well this season, and I think as an incredible resume, but this incredible 10-game winning streak for the Aces has been fun, and I think they're scary, and I don't think anyone wants to play them, not even the Lynx at this point. The Lynx probably want to play anyone. They don't care, but I get fear in my eyes when I look at what the Aces are doing now, and that's a monster that just woke up. But we do this in sports all the times where you're kind of rewarding teams for sleepwalking through like the first 2 months of the season, and that they've had this pretty incredible comeback, but the Aces were nowhere near the conversation of, like, it was just A'ja was great stats on a team that was otherwise like doing nothing for a while, and they were yo-yoing back and forth above 500, below 500. Looked like, are they gonna make the playoffs at any point? So like them having a bad May and a bad June, and A'ja missed a chunk of games there too, not as many as Phee. I think if they all play the rest of them, A'ja will have missed 4, Phee will have missed 10. That is a significant difference. But why are we awarding teams for being bad for long stretches of time and it's being like, oh yeah, wait, we're not bad, let's be good again?
Weren't, after the game that you mentioned earlier where they lost by 50 whatever to the Lynx, weren't they 500 that day? They were 14-14, and now they've won a bunch since, right? Like that's August. They were 500 in August.
They were 14-13. Yeah, they were 14-13 going into that game.
Yeah.
Like, and also, a game or two prior, they lost by 31 points in Minneapolis to the Lynx in a game that A'ja played in. That's another thing too. I do think when you get down to it and it's like, all right, it's this person or this person for MVP. And I think this is true in any sport. What happened when they met each other? Well, Asia's 0-2 against the Lynx this season. The Aces are 0-3. A'ja missed the first meeting between these two teams. There will be one more on September 6th in Las Vegas. And I mean, like you mentioned, the Lynx might be all clinched up in number one at that point. And then you have the rest versus rust issue. I do know the organization really wants this for Phee. The only person who kind of downplays it is Phee, who's I don't care about individual.
Do we believe her? Do we actually believe her?
I believe her a bit. I think she do I want to be MVP? Yes or no? The answer is obviously yes. But I do think if it's if a genie pops up and says you can have this trophy or this trophy, one's the MVP and the other one's the WNBA championship, she's taking the championship. I imagine A'ja would take that too. But yeah. Well, it's weird.
Also, 4th place MVP, not in the discussion for what we're saying. Alicia Gray. Get
Yes.
Alicia Gray on your ballots,
Right.
everybody. Napheesa Collier's pipeline from coming off the bench on the most stacked college team ever to MVP would be crazy.
Amazing. Wait, so this is my first year as a voter. Weird
Welcome.
flex, but okay, thank you. How many do we get on the ballot?
Well, I don't remember if it's 3 or 5 for MVP, but it just do your first team all W and just
Do your
move
first team
on
ballot?
over
Okay,
to that
yeah.
one. Yeah.
I mean, Alicia Gray. If Alicia Gray is in my first team, all WNBA for
Yeah,
sure.
she better
So,
be on every
obligatory Alicia Gray reference here at the top of the episode between about the Lynx and the Fever.
I was gonna say I'm here to help disrupt what we're talking about.
Exactly. I love it, Tony. Well, it's for Fee to get her spot in the starting lineup back. She had to unseat someone who had just had one of the more historic performances ever. And we will get into that right here. Locked On Women's Basketball in just a second. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. We were just talking about MVP, so take a flyer on the MVP race, whether that be Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, the Napheesa Collier of the NFL, whoever you think that is. You can do that on FanDuel Futures Day. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. That is tomorrow, August 26, 2025. FanDuel, play your game. Tony, you were in the house on Friday night in Indianapolis, and you were privileged to see the fastest triple-double in the history of triple-doubles. Jessica Shepard, who nearly had a triple-double at the half, ends up with one of the wilder stat lines that's ever happened. 22 points, which matches a career high for her, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. I do think they took an assist away at one point. Thank God she had an extra one to spare. Also 0 turnovers and 0 fouls and 10 of 11 from the field. What was the magic in the air like at the Cambridge Fieldhouse on Friday night?
Yeah, let's do some inside baseball here, Terry. So I spent some of the second quarter looking up. You're in the Slack. You saw a message. Does anyone have halftime records? Because I was like, are the Fever about to make the most threes in a half ever? They were 8 for 9 or 7 for 8 or something, and they were on fire, right? So I'm like, obviously watching the game. It's right in front of me. But I'm also on my computer, like trying to figure this out. And all of a sudden, halftime comes, the Fever up like 2 or whatever. Right. And then Jess Shepard gets her triple-double like right away in the start of the second half. I was like, wait. She has what stats? Like, I've been watching the game. I didn't even realize that she'd already accumulated that much, even though she played the whole game. That's the other stat that's crazy. They played the night before in a different city, and then she played 40 minutes, and it was ridiculous. Also, great defense from her, as is customary every night from Jess Shepard, obviously. But, I mean, in a 5-point win, she's a +5 in 40 minutes. Like, obviously that's a big deal, but the fact that she was a positive in that way, they can't take her off the floor. Like you saw the Atlanta game when she was on the bench, they did not play well. Right. And so they needed her to play. And not only did she play, she played very well. She was disruptive on Boston for 3 quarters in a way that I think Aaliyah Boston had taken 4 shots through 3 quarters of this game. And she was 10 for 11 and had all those other stats you already mentioned. It was just ridiculous. I don't even know what to say about it, because, especially when, Alana Smith's like dealing with this rib thing that she had Sunday night, and they're like really trying to balance their front court minutes with Fee out. Like, you need someone to step up. That's more than stepping up. Like, that's like an all-time level great game.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a more well-liked or a nicer person as well, and someone who truly does not care about stats or individual accolades at all. I loved Jess was, of course, the you probably didn't get to see this because you're in the arena, but the immediate interview with the Ion broadcast afterwards.
I actually did see it because I walk through the court to go back instead of taking the elevator down. And I was like, that's cool. Sorry, K-Mac, you shot some nice threes.
You shot the lights out, and it's just clearly the B topic, right? But so that they asked Jess, like, did you even know that you basically had a triple-double at halftime? She was like, my teammates made me aware about it. Yeah.
They were losing. That's what was so crazy.
It's just about, it's just about trying to do whatever she could to help the team win, which is, if that grab a rebound, defend Leah Boston, hold her to just, 4 field goal attempts through 3 quarters, jump in front of a train, squat, skyscraper, whatever. Jessica Shepard will do it if it improves the Lynx chances of winning a game by a minuscule percentage. And you could see, the way the team celebrated her. I got a chance to chat with Rebecca Brunson during media availability at Shoot Around yesterday, because Jess was asked about working with Brunson, who of course is his Lynx immortality and an assistant coach with the team. And Jess got a little choked up and showed some emotion when she normally doesn't show a ton of emotion in interviews when asked about just getting to work with Rebecca Brunson and what that means. And Brunson just had the biggest smile on her face when asked about Shepard, a full, day and a half later. Someone who's been with the Lynx, she came in that same draft class with Phee in 2019. They acquired Bridget Carlton that same season. And so just kind of like, pretty good haul there. They had to wait for Connecticut to cut Bridget first, but still basically the same draft class. And I think that just sort of speaks to, like the continuity of, this team. And I think, last year there was maybe when Shepard had to sit out or did sit out for overseas stuff. It was kind of like, oh, is her, Lynx career over? Will she be with someone else? And then it gets announced she's coming back. And she's been vital. Like Cheryl said before the game on Friday, if Jessica Shepard isn't a Lynx this season, we're in big time trouble. And then she went out and did that.
And in that particular game, no Phee, obviously, as we already talked about. And Courtney Williams was not good that night. He subbed her out well and played effectively, but obviously K-Mac made a bunch of shots. Like they got against the Fever in those 2 games, countless easy shots at the rim because of Jess Shepard and these split actions, or Jessica Shepard scoring herself, or just creating something by setting a good screen or being involved in she's not breaking down a defense off the dribble, but the way she plays and how active and alert she is all the time. Every time there's a small crack or a slow rotation, Jess Shepard's like, great, I'm open there, or someone's open there. I just have to set this screen. And it just opened up everything and made it way easier for, even on a night where there's no Phee and your team's all-star ball handler has 2 points in 13 minutes. You need someone else to step up. And of course, McBride did, and Heidman did, but Jess Shepard made that possible for everybody else by really opening up and unlocking the floor. And I'm glad there actually were stats to go with it, because playing all 40 minutes and winning those minutes is one thing in a game where the other team shoots 13 of 19 from 3. But the other part of it is, that stuff we just said. It was a really, really remarkable performance. And it went the Fever. And even another game, they had another day to watch film and see what the Lynx did to them. They're like, yeah, we cannot keep you guys from the rim. We just can't do it.
Yeah. Have you told me this is what's going to happen Friday? Fee's not going to play. It's going to be a bad Courtney game. Alana Smith will be scoreless in the first half. And the Lynx win. The Lynx win an offensive-minded contest in which the Fever shoot well over 50% from 3. I'll be like, there's no way. There's just no way. And like you said, K-Mac played great. Heidemann played great, and Bridget Carlton did finally made a huge shot in that game after the Lynx had 2 straight shot clock violations where they didn't get a shot off.
I forgot about that out of nowhere.
Yeah. And then she had that midi as with the shot clock at 1, and Cheryl literally ran out to the court and was like, "That's what I've been effing saying, get that shot off." So yeah, it was a lot of kind of weird things happened, and I hesitate to even use that word for Shepard's performance just because she's just all grit and heart and soul hooping, and is also just a really good basketball player. And it's just that's what happens when you make the correct play every single time you get the ball for a 40-minute game. There was 0 mistakes from her. That was
either end of the floor.
Yeah. That was really special. And where it leaves us is with the Lynx still number 1 in the standings, 2 wins away from locking up that 1 seed, which I think I think that's an argument for Napheesa Collier, to go back to our first segment topic, but we'll let the discourse take that from here on out. Indy sitting in 8th. This would be kind of a fun matchup. We'll talk about that possibility and what the next 7 games look like for the Fever in just a second, right here on Locked On Women's Basketball. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. And the shared inbox feature is a game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Tony, I don't know that there's been a team in the league more bit by the injury bug recently than the Indiana Fever, and even recently might be a stretch there because it's kind of been a theme all year with Caitlin Clark missing most of the season at this point. The Fever are at 19 and 18, have had a lot of hardships, a lot of moving parts. Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard have been fantastic in holding it down in the post. How do you the next couple of weeks will be huge as the Fever look to clinch a spot in the playoffs and maybe get Caitlin Clark back, who I know did some work during shoot around. I was leaving Link shoot around and I just kind of opened a door, one of those things where you go through a door that's normally just an empty hallway, and the entire Indiana Fever team was just waiting, not having a lot of conversation. I just like popped up. I was like, oh, hi, Stephanie White. Hi, hi, Leah Boston. Hi,
Found him.
And Caitlin Clark was, I was not allowed to stay in the Arena Bowl and watch the closed portion of shoot around. But Caitlin Clark was dressed in the exact same, practice attire as the rest of the team. She was, walking around, like someone had said something funny and she was laughing. And let's get a laugh tracker on Caitlin Clark to make sure she's still in good spirits. As she does during the game, she was up and moving and getting after officials. It looks like she's moving well. Like, there's a chance that she comes back before the regular season? Do you think we see Caitlin Clark back on the court anytime for the Fever coming up?
So I think that's their hope, right? That's what they've been. Why would she be going through all this to not try to return during the season, right? Like, clearly that's what they hope happens, especially given the standings. It'd be great if she came back. And look, I'm not saying they would be the favorite against anybody, but I've said this same line to a lot of people. I mean, this, you were at the game. Like, they beat Minnesota without her, but if they have all 3 of their stars, like, they can hang with anybody, right? Like, they've beaten New York, they've beaten Atlanta, they've beaten Phoenix, they beat Minnesota. They beat the Aces. Like, they can do it. I don't know if again, a 3-game series, like, especially with how many other players are hurt now, maybe they would not be favored against any of those teams, but they can win, they can hang. And so I think they feel like, well, man, if we just get, like, they've played well against Atlanta. Like, if they get the 7 seed, beat the Dream in the first round, like, that's on the table as a result, if they are healthy and can get her back. So of course that's ifs. If she doesn't return, that is obviously a much more challenging endeavor, but she's that good, right? Like, she was in the MVP conversation last year. And by the way, under-discussed, huge bummer that she didn't get to play in Minnesota this year. It's her favorite team from when she was a kid, closest team to Iowa.
Well documented.
That does suck.
Right.
I didn't even
those fans were still there. There was a lot of Iowa shirts, though I do think a lot of them may have covered the Iowa shirts with the new slam cover stud bud shirts that were available in the arena. There was that was the first time you could buy them in person. They couldn't even put them in the team store because the team store is too small to handle that kind of traffic. So they had to distribute them in the atrium. I took a lap around the arena right after the arena doors opened. The line was already kind of wrapping around the concourse.
Wow.
The first 10 people I counted in line were all wearing Fever or Iowa stuff and then posing with the giant cover, like sort of step and repeat. So I think there is definitely some, multi-team repping happening, but it's fun. We love fun
and
stuff.
You see, if you're a fan, you want to go see Caitlin, well, she's going to be active for you. She's going to sign her autographs for 15 minutes before the game. Still actually makes it at least somewhat worth it, even when not playing. But yeah, I think that's still their hope, is that she could. I keep saying hope because if they had a clear timetable, they would say it. If they had a clear yes or no, they would say it. But they do say the hope, and like you saw, she is doing stuff on the court now. Now they don't have a lot of practice time. They're about to go on a road trip. We'll see, but yeah, I think they believe they're good enough, and I think the hope is that she can at some point play again this year.
And I posted this on Bluesky during the game, but last night felt like one of those games during those old Buffalo Wild Wings commercials where you could hit the switch to make a game take more time so that people could stay at the bar and enjoy themselves.
It was
there is a lot of reviews. There's a lot of reasons for reviews, and every review took some time. So there's a lot of time for, Caitlin to kind of, get some steps in up and down the sideline to say, what are you guys talking about? It was this, not this, whatever.
Can I give the Lynx some credit? Or the Target Center, more specifically? What's Up by Four Non Blondes is my second favorite song of all time. I love that they play that during those long reviews. That is a blast.
They went deep too. There's like 5 or 6 different what the heck are we doing here? Like coded songs.
Which is crazy because the 2 games they played for the first 7 quarters were like high paced, running everywhere. Defense is terrible. Points. And then the fourth quarter of the second game was like, no more. No more. Yeah. Fouls like crazy. Reviews like crazy. This is going to take forever. I was like, come on, man. This sucks. What are we doing?
At halftime, this is even more inside baseball, but we've talked about like in our Slack channel, like elements of like a great basketball game before, like, and I'm like, if you look at the final box and it's like total time duration and it's like an hour and 49 minutes or something like that, I'm like, that means the refs did not make themselves the main character at any point. And in the first half, it was like offense, running. The game itself was fast. Time was moving fast. For this game to still finish with a time duration of 2 hours and 8 minutes meant that there was 2 hours and 6 minutes worth of reviews. It was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, I think if you are a Fever fan listening to this, and you should, as this is the confluence of Minnesota Mondays and Fever Fridays, and we might have a reason to have a bunch more lockdown shows together if these teams match up in the playoffs, Tony.
Very possible.
Which you probably don't want to ever draw the team that has been number 1 with a bullet for the whole season, but if you're the Fever, you haven't faced the Lynx with Caitlin Clark yet this year. You beat them in the Commissioner's Cup Championship. Both of these games were, closer than the Lynx ideally wanted them to be. There wasn't otherworldly shooting in this last one, but there was. Shea Petty hit one that I was like, this is insane. There's a bank shot 3, and then I think the next time to the line, Kelsey Mitchell on the next possession bank shot at a free throw, and I was like, it's just gonna be like that kind of. I don't know if the Lynx want to get in the habit of shootouts with the Fever. Though I say that, and Cheryl would accurately point out.
They won the 2 shootouts and lost the Commissioner's Cup game where the Fever.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that would make sense. And Cheryl would point out, like, we're the number 1 in all of these metrics. We're the best 3-point shooting team. We're the best offensive rating. We're the best defensive rating. So yeah, but that would be an exciting series. And then of course, on the business side, I'm sure they would love it. And Clark would get to play playoff games in the arena where she grew up, falling in love with the WNBA.
Yeah, the Fever haven't played a home playoff game since 2016, so I think they would like to make the playoffs this year.
And who has been there covering all of that for you, Fever fans? Tony East.
I started in 2020. I didn't go to Connecticut last year. It's just not possible. for me. So
It's
I have never
difficult.
covered a Fever playoff game, and I've covered
In
hundreds
person.
in person of Fever games.
Right.
So
There you
if
go.
they make it
Well,
this year, it'll be the first time. And I can get to Minnesota very easily if that is in fact the first round series. So.
Minneapolis is a little more travelable than Uncasville.
However, as much as it would be great for the Lynx fans and WNBA if they were the first round, I think the Fever would like to not play the Lynx in the first round if possible.
Yeah, there's making the playoffs and then playing literally anyone else.
Anyone else. You can at least compete with somebody else.
At least you get like
we don't. This isn't a topic, but for those of you who would like to see the Fever make the playoffs, big week. They play the 6th, 7th, and 9th ranked teams this week for their 3 games.
Oh, that is a great tease.
Yeah.
What's like their schedule like? So will all of this happen by Fever Friday? This is me plugging your show on
Seattle
Friday.
At home on Tuesday. Then they play in LA Friday and in Golden State Sunday. So I only get one more game for chatting, but yeah, it's a big week. We'll know a lot about the back end playoff picture by the end of this week.
We sure will. And we'll be here, Locked On Women's Basketball, to cover it all with all our various team report episodes, the flagship Locked On Women's Basketball show, and of course, Tony on Fever Fridays. Tony, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can the people follow you and all of your work?
Tony R. East on social medias, and anywhere you find Terry writing or talking about the Lynx, you can find me writing or talking about the Fever.
That's true. Thank you so much, Tony. And thank you, listeners, for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen today. For your second listen, find the Locked On NBA podcast, where there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.